if you're lactose intolerant, you can't watch this movie because it's got so much cheese.
Sorry, yeah, I gotta go. You guys can do this on your own now.
Nope, end it there. You agree 100%. I'm right. I'm back, bitches.
We didn't miss you. Get out of here.
Okay, well, I'm here.
Where's
No
Nick?
more guests.
Someone invite Nick.
You're not safe anymore.
Nick tried, but he did not replace me. Today we are reviewing The Concrete Cowboy. This movie is about a young boy who is sent to live with his estranged father in North Philadelphia and finds himself a part of a tight-knit community who is just trying to survive in a concrete jungle of Philadelphia.
That was very eloquent, Joe. Did you write that?
Thank you. I did actually write that 30 seconds ago. It was directed and written by Ricky Staub, starring Idris Elba, Lorraine Toussaint, and Caleb McLaughlin. Let's get straight into our first reactions. Kev, why don't you take us away?
Wow, I feel like I haven't started first reactions in like a long time, and like I don't know what to do with myself.
Your first.
His
Huh?
first time.
That's right. Yeah. Huh? What are we talking about? I thought it was good. I thought it was. I thought it got better towards the end. Like the beginning, I was like kind of like, this is okay. But then once I got to the point, and it got a little more exciting. I thought it was really good. And then obviously we don't want to spoil stuff, but it kind of closes out nicely and the kind of the things they touch on. So I thought it was really good. I thought it was an interesting community to learn about because it is a true story. And I mean, obviously the three of us lived in Philly. We were roomies for a little bit. For anybody out there who doesn't know, yes, second floor squad. And not James. James was not part of that squad. He had to live in the penthouse above us, like we were peasants. But living in Philly, like, and I guess you don't realize that they're part of a community, but you see people on horses, like in Philly. At least I have. I don't know about you guys, but like we used to see them on our streets. They used to come down like our street, like North American and stuff.
We would drive through their horse shit on the roads.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like if you go to like festivals, like I remember going to the Italian Market Festival in South Philly, and there was a ton of people on horses, and I was like really interested because I was like, that's like it's something I didn't expect to see. It's like people like with cowboy hats, and they're all like there's 5 people on horseback just like riding around. It was awesome.
Right. And then you kind of get used to it, and you're like, wow, I guess other cities don't have people riding around on horses. But, like, you see it, but I didn't realize the, like, gravity of that community or kind of the community itself. So it was cool to learn about, and it was kind of an interesting take on, like, what do they call these stories? Like a coming-of-age story, kind of for the kids. So I thought it was good, and I thought the acting was really good. I love Idris Elba. Stranger Things kid was really good. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Agreed. Yeah, I definitely echo the it was very good. I really I thought this movie was a very beautiful movie, and I just have a lot of respect for I really felt like I went on kind of an emotional ride because you start in a very rough place and then you kind of grow and they really there's an overarching theme in this movie of community, like Kevin said, and I want to get into that more later, but I can't echo enough that this is, in the beginning of the movie, right, this is going to tug on some heartstrings. This is a hard, there's harder situations, you know what I mean, in this movie, and but you see as the movie kind of progresses that there really is a ton of character growth, you know what I mean? There's real life situations hit the main character, Cole, you know what I mean? And you kind of sit right there with him, and you see as he kind of goes. I do think it's also a coming of age story. I think that was a very good way to put it, Kev, because he does in the beginning of the movie he's a kid, you know what I mean? But by the end of the movie you're kind of looking at him in a different light, And I thought that was it felt very natural. It felt very well spoken. It felt, and the characters were very relatable, and the logic was all there too. So that my first reaction is watch the movie. It's fucking awesome. But I'll send it over to Joey.
Okay. So I'm going to say I chose this movie not knowing anything about it other than it had some cool cover art and it was starring Idris Elba and I figured there'd be a horse in it. I didn't know it was going to actually be about cowboys. I didn't know anything about it really at all. and I was happy with it. You know, it's a really well done movie. It's really nice. The acting's great, great cast. I didn't really care about it though until the end. Like, I didn't realize it was a true story when I was watching it the whole time. Like I said, I didn't know anything about it. I struggled with it because the plot was kind of predictable. It was kind of cliche. It felt like a typical coming of age story where it's like you have this troubled kid who defies his dad, who then ends up realizing that his dad loved him all along and that he's only been doing what's best for him, and happy-go-lucky ending. So, like, I didn't really think there was too much...
I don't know if I'd call that ending happy-go-lucky. But we don't need to talk about that right now.
It has its heartwarming feeling to it. But to me, there wasn't too much depth to it in the sense of, like, uniqueness. Like, nothing was extravagant. The acting I thought was great, but the story, the plot, like, again, until I realized at the end when this was a true story, and then it really pulls you in with the, like,
let me clarify, Joe, because I think I know what you're saying. You don't think there was anything unique about the story itself, but I think there was uniqueness on how the story was told, even though it was the same story, but they tell it in this space of, like, this community that I'm sure a ton of people don't know exists. We lived there and we didn't even know it was this community. We knew that there were guys who rode horses in the city, but...
Agreed. The community itself is a very niche group. It's something that most people don't know about. I don't think really anybody, unless you are involved in it, knows about. But to me, this movie wasn't really about the group. It was about Cole, the young kid who's growing up and reconnecting with his father. Like, and from that aspect, it felt kind of traditional. So that's just where I stand.
I've got a question for you guys.
I've got an answer for you.
How many of us watched a trailer for this movie?
I did not.
Not me.
No trailers? Me either.
No
I only saw when this movie first went, I think it was in Sundance or a festival or something like that. And on Reddit, like, when it first came out, was a picture of Idris Elba on a horse in the city. And they were like, this is his new movie. And I was like, wow, I need to watch that movie. And then I found out about it. It was about Philly. And I was like, I need to watch this. And then I forgot about it until you texted us and you were like, we're watching Concrete Cowboy. And I was like, oh, shit. I forgot about that movie for like
You almost picked
2
this
years.
movie.
I know.
This came out in 2021. I thought this came out in...
What?
I didn't
No,
know.
it's brand new.
It's
It
new.
just came out a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago from when we started recording this.
Oh, when did it come out in the festivals? Do you know? Do you have
The
that
festivals are
information
usually-
on it? A year before?
Yeah, because they get picked up from festivals typically.
Okay, that makes sense then.
But I don't know with 2020 if it maybe came out the festival before in 2019 and it just been sitting. But that was the other thing. I did like that it was actually shot in Philadelphia. It felt like Philly. I was like, oh, these actually look like Philly streets. It wasn't like In the Shadow of the Moon where it just felt like a cliche city that could be Philly, but it's probably not.
It looked more like Chicago. Like Shadow of the Moon looked more like Chicago than it did Philly.
Yeah, no, this literally was
Philly, like North
that
Philadelphia.
was Strawberry Mansions, yeah, for sure.
I was what's it called? I was talking. That's like one of the first comments I watched. So I watched the first half of this movie with my girlfriend Alex, and she one of the first comments, like I thought it as well, but like she said out loud, she's like, that literally looks like Philly. Like this very much, because a lot of times like movies, especially that are set in Philadelphia, they'll use like these huge panning shots of like the art museum or like Boathouse Row or like
In the Shadow of the Moon did that on steroids.
Yeah, but like when they actually get to like the city streets, like you don't see like an Italian deli or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like the brick buildings that you see in the Northeast all over the place, and like stuff like that like really kind of drives home the like, oh no, like you're actually like in.
Yeah, this
like,
was very authentic.
Should we test our Philly knowledge then? This is not a spoiler, but in the beginning of the movie, when she's driving him to Philly, what road was she on, do you think? I don't have the answer for this. I just thought I'd ask you guys this.
She's coming from Detroit.
Yeah,
you mean like the highways or like when she got into
probably
Philly?
76.
Let me see if I can screenshot the shot, and I'll put it in the chat. Maybe we'll table it for a little later in the podcast, so it's a little suspense. But I saw the shot. I thought it was like 611 going into the city. Because, 611 goes straight down into Broad Street. So, and she was going to North Philly, so I was like, because it didn't really look like 95.
Well, it wouldn't be.
No, it wouldn't be 95 because 95 runs up to like the East Coast,
north to
so
south.
she'd be coming from the turnpike
From Detroit, right?
Yeah, potentially getting on 611.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
I'm
see
sure
if I
our
can
viewers
screen
are very
grab it.
interested
You guys like
in...
traffic. If you guys don't like us talking about Philly, you know what you do love? Us talking about Philly traffic.
We're now a morning show. Okay. Kev, do you want to share that before the spoilers, or are we good to break
I think
here?
we're good to break. We'll do a little tease.
Yeah, if you want to stick around and find
then,
out which street they drove into Philly on, stick around. We're going to have a
we'll
quick...
do it right after the break.
Yes, we're going to have a quick break from our beautiful sponsor, Anchor, and their lovely support of our podcast. We'll see you in a second. And we're back! Still discussing the Concrete Cowboy, and I think Kevin has an answer for us on which street his mom drove in on from Detroit. Kev, do you want to tell us?
I think we've all decided in our professional Philly opinions that they are on the Schuylkill.
If you answered D, you are correct, and you will be eligible for a prize.
Put Schuylkill. I wish we had, our international viewers in Nigeria, since we're popping over there, we should put the word Schuylkill in there and see if they can pronounce Schuylkill.
It doesn't sound like it'd be a hard word to pronounce until you see how it's spelled.
Yeah. It's one of those dumb words that they're just fuck the letters. We don't need to figure out what it means.
Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Now, my guess is it's Native American, and we're doing about a bunch of microaggressions.
It's probably true. That's probably true.
We're just loading up on microaggressions. I
apologize for my microaggressions.
Okay, back to the movie, though. Let's talk about how we really felt. Let's get into some spoilers. Even though this movie doesn't really have too many spoilers. It's just kind of like a movie. That's why it was kind of...
Oh, really? Is it, Joey? Is it just a movie?
It was very whelming. The plot was very predictable. It wasn't like, what's going to happen next? How is it going to end? You knew exactly where this movie was going to go the entire time, in my opinion.
Yeah, bro, but it was such a good ride. I don't think it was like you guys are like, oh man, it's so basic. I'm like, I don't even care. A plot doesn't need to take drastic steps if done well, right? And I think that I think that they did a really good job, selling you these characters, selling you this community, selling you what is going on in Cole's life, and really giving you, even though it's not the most genuine storyline, a very natural feeling progression of story. And if a movie can do that well, I think that lends itself to the talent of the actors and the writing.
I don't know why you grouped me with Joe, because I'm with you on that, James.
Oh, hell yeah.
Me too.
Fuck you,
what the hell,
Fuck
dude?
You,
Yeah. I was like, wait, I agree with everything James is saying, that there's no, to me, it's not, I don't think what Joe is saying, and I don't know if he's doing it this way, but I don't think that critique on a movie is necessarily always a knock on the movie, because I think there are some stories that are just, told over and over again, and I think the way you present it, if it's in a new, fresh way, is fine with me. Even though we know where the story's going to go, you generally want to be along for that ride because it's a tried and true way of storytelling.
Here's the thing. This is a true story about a true group of people, and I think that they focused on Cole, the outsider, whereas I think the actual members of the group had much more interesting stories to be told. Like the guy in the wheelchair who lost his brother.
Paris was awesome. I love that.
I would have been much more intrigued in his storyline, to be honest. And Nessie, she seemed like a very deep, intriguing, kind of mysterious character. I would have liked to see more in depth with her. Kev, I will get to you in a minute. Let me finish my damn thought. But I don't know. I thought it was well done. The writing was good. The acting was good. I don't have a knock on it in the sense of it was bad. It gripped me in the beginning because I was curious as to see where they were driving to and where they were doing, and why the mom was so I loved the mom that she was the tough love. She just left him on the streets of Philly and was like, okay, time to go drive back to Detroit now.
That's pretty rough. That's not where you want to be dropped, is in Strawberry Mansions.
No, it was bad, but then it just kind of didn't really grab me after that. It was just like, okay, here's going to be a quick montage now of him doing hard physical labor and learning, like, oh, there's easier ways to do things. There's ways to work smarter, not harder, and like metaphors for that type of like aspect of life. But it just, I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys like loved so much about it.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, why did you have your hand up?
Yes, Kev.
Interesting.
Damn it.
All right, so
I forgot.
I'll jump off. So essentially, like,
if you remember again, just raise your hand.
Don't jump, James. Don't jump.
Don't do it. If you, what do you guys think of? Right, so like we talked about that all the supporting characters, right? Because I'm going to say that Cole is obviously the main focus of this movie, and everyone kind of around him was a supporting character. Kevin, you have your hand raised. What would you like to say?
No,
so
I
you
was
You
just
get
gonna
one interruption card, and you just played it.
Wait, what? What did you say?
You get one interruption card.
I used my interruption? No, I was going to say before we get too deep into it, is it a true story or just based on a true group? Like, did this actually happen?
I think it's just based on a true group. I don't know.
Based on true group is my
right, but it's a made up story about
the father.
Yes.
Son.
Okay. Cool. Mm-hmm. All right. Just wanted to clarify. Back to James.
So what do you guys think about, right, so like Nessie, great. Paris, amazing. He's one of the most memorable, like, supporting characters that I've seen, like...
He reminded me of Gata, just like the way he talked and the way he, like, his mannerisms reminded me of Gata from Dave.
From Dick, I was going to say, well, Dick.
Was Gata, no, Gata, he met Gata during, like, the show Dave, he met Gata in LA, but I was going to say I didn't know if Gata was from Philly.
I don't know.
He's from like KOP area, I think.
Is he? Oh, that's crazy. Small world. They meet out in
Dave. Dave is from
KOP.
Lil Dicky.
Yes.
Yeah,
James is asking about Gata because they're friends in real life.
Yeah, I think he's from LA.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So, regardless, amazing Paris, absolutely amazing. Also, that's like he's like actually one of the people that's a part of the. I'm losing in the name now. What's
Fletcher
street?
Riders? Or
Fletcher,
Fletcher,
yeah. It's like Fletcher something riding club is essentially that's what their group is called. But he's a real member. You know what I mean? The main love interest for Cole is a real member, and like one of the more elderly people named Al in the movie is also a real member of like the Fletcher Street Riding Club. So essentially, right, like, what did you guys think of? So amazing acting from all the supporting actors, even, those that don't necessarily, like, I don't think he's a career, I don't know if, what's it called? Paris is a career actor, but, he's, what's it called? Philly.
Oh, wait, they did act? That was them as the actors, too?
Yes, yeah.
No, Paris is like a real, like,
I was going to say, when they were interviewing them at the end, I was like, oh my god, the actors look just like them.
No, that's just the actors.
That is them!
Okay.
That is
I will say, that changes a good amount for me.
Yeah. But...
I thought they were really good. Are you going to... Go ahead.
I'm going to ask about the acting,
ask
right? So what did you guys think about Idris Elba's acting in this movie?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask about the people who weren't actors who were acting in this movie. So, for them, I thought they were great, actually.
Yeah,
for not being actual actors, you would think that they're actors. Like, they did a great job. I thought Idris Elba was great. I thought he was very believable. I think he's a wonderful actor. Like, in everything I've seen him in, like, I just think he's great.
I'm going to go even further and say brilliant. It's a new word that I think is being underutilized and needs to be used more.
He's British, so you can say brilliant. That's like a thing that they say.
Yeah.
I'm still super disappointed we haven't seen him as James Bond because I think that would be incredible.
Oh my god, that would be so good. I would love to see him as James Bond.
But yeah, I mean, I think about every time I see Idris Elba, if I see his name on something, like, he's one of those actors where I'm like, I would like to watch that now, because
he sells the script, Idris Elba put asses in seats. Everybody wants to see Idris Elba.
He reminds me of, like, a Christian Bale type of actor. Like,
Christian Bale's so good.
He can kind of do anything. He gets respect. He's British, And,
with Idris Elba is, like, even now, just watching stuff, excuse me, I'm not sitting there just saying, oh, I'm watching Idris Elba. You know, some actors get like
Yeah.
too big where you're like,
George Clooney.
oh,
Tom Hanks.
George Clooney. Yeah, I'm watching George Clooney in space. Or like now Leo, it's like I'm just watching Leonardo DiCaprio fight a bear in the woods. So it's like I don't get that with him, and I just think he's great in a lot of the stuff he does.
Yeah.
Star Trek, he was in Star Trek.
He seems very he's a very natural. Like he's able to kind of put on a lot of it. He's able to take on mannerisms and like the way, not just in what he says, but the way he says things.
Yeah.
Like, he does seem like I could totally see him being from Philly. You know what I mean? And and even the way like he carries himself and like how he treats Cole and like in their like because they don't have a ton of interactions in the movie. You know, he's a very quiet character, but like in the interactions that he does have and how he treats Cole, right, is a very tough love dad. You know what I mean? He's a very tough love dad, but you can tell that he really cares. You know what I mean? And he's like, when like, you know, he really gets broken down and he really needs someone there, he's there for him.
And he's kind of learning too, right? Like obviously he wasn't in his son's life for 14 years, so like he's learning throughout the course of this movie too on like how to be a father to Cole, and there's some really good like symbolism, I would say, throughout the movie and towards the end of the movie when like they're in the stable together and he's cleaning him off, and you're kind of seeing that like Cole's making that what was Idris Elba's name? Harp. Yeah, Harp is like kind of using what he's learned with these horses to care for his son, you know, and like the symbolism of them, like him learning that in the like it's just I thought it was very good. And like James said, that's a great, like a wonderful point, James, that I have realized, that you have made me realize, but looking back, it's so true, is that he adopts like the mannerisms of it. Like that's such a good tell of a good actor, is that like he can act and he can play this character, but like he adopts those mannerisms to just like throw it overboard where you're like, okay, like I believe it, right? Like it's believable. So that's a great point. I like Idris Elba a lot.
Yeah. And even some of the side conversations, you know what I mean? At the end of the movie, they have this panning shot where like the family is together again, right? And it's like kind of like to give you a good feeling at the end of the movie, but like even the back and forth that he's having with like Cole and like his ex-wife, or I don't know if they're actually separated, but
I don't think they were married.
Yeah, but it's Cole's mom, and Cole's dad. You know what I mean? They're all kind of together talking about horses or whatever, and like Cole's like being like, "Oh, well, I'm better than him," and he's like, "You're better than who?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Even that is like playful, and like you can tell that like in Kevin, to speak to your point, in the way that Idris Elba is acting, right, when he is comforting Cole, you know what I mean, in his like low points, he doesn't say like, "Oh, it's okay, son, it's okay." He's like, "You're all right, man. You're all right." You know? It's like, I got you. Yeah, it's like it's how you would talk. He's talking to Cole like he's a peer. He's not talking to Cole like he's, you know what I mean, his son. And it's like I think it's just because like that's maybe how, at least this is what I took from the character, is that's what the character is most comfortable portraying, and that's like when he has showed support, it's always been to a peer, not to, you know what I mean, his son or like a child, you know.
Okay, so we know that this movie is about a very specific... James, stop rubbing your hands.
Yeah, dude, it's so
Separate
loud.
hands.
That is a classic though. Like now that I've edited an episode, whoa, woohoo!
Kevin contributed to the podcast.
I contributed something.
What is it? Episode 20?
Hey! I contribute every goddamn week to this episode with my beautiful voice and my great opinions, so fuck you.
Less than, please.
Fuck you. But no, I'll be editing, and I'm like, what? Is someone rubbing sandpaper? And then I just see James's like shoulders moving, and I'm like, that guy's fucking rubbing his hands again.
He's got to do something with my hands, bro.
He's got something good he's about to say. It's like you're evil, and you're like, oh, I'm about to spit some knowledge on them.
It's like a nervous tick. It's one of those things. Like when I was a kid, I wanted like not to fucking get into TMI or whatever, but I used to bite my nails. So like the way I had to like, you know, they teach you that shit, right? They give you the. Do you guys bite your nails when you were kids?
I still bite my nails.
Yeah.
Jinx,
it's like an average Jinx, second floor squad. I eat them like a snack.
Do you ever see like the no bite shit that like they put on your nails? We're fucking crazy sidetracking right now.
Yeah, it's like bitter. It's like bitter. You spray it on your nails. My cousin had it once.
It never
Okay,
works.
hold on, wait. Slow down for a second. I don't know what either of you just said.
Nobody's
like
ever
a-
seen.
It's like
Nobody?
a nail polish.
It's like nail polish you put on your nails. It's basically like, so if you put your hands in your mouth, it tastes bitter. It teaches you, it's like negative reinforcement, so you won't bite your nails anymore, right? That shit doesn't work, at least for me. What I had to learn to do was like rub my hands together and like do other shit with my hands, you know? It's just like
James wasn't putting a nail bite on. He was putting like fucking candied sugar on there. Just like,
keep
this
me
tastes
away.
good.
Cheeto dust.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's still got all that fucking Cheeto dust negates the bite off, dude. So
Yeah, man. Well,
Okay,
you're talking about something else.
I was asking about just like, to me, this felt like a very movie target. Like, what we've been wanting to talk more about is like, who is the audience for this movie? And to me, it felt like a very niche audience, which is not bad. And I don't think it's necessarily just Philadelphia Cowboys, whatever. Like, I think it's beyond that. It's just a whole community of, I don't really know, to be honest. Like, that's where I struggle with. I don't know who this movie is for. I don't know what I was necessarily supposed to grab
I think this is
away
just
from
a
it.
good movie,
Like,
dude. Like, I don't necessarily think they're trying to target an audience. I think genuinely this is just a good movie. You know?
You always got to ask why are you making this movie? Who are you making it for? Like, that's
Like,
just
call it what it is. I mean, we can't relate to this movie because this isn't a coming of age movie for us to relate to. We're three white dudes who grew up in the summer, so we can't relate to this
Summer?
story.
You mean in the suburbs?
Did I say in the summer?
You said in the
We
summer.
grew up in one summer. Remember
We
that
ignored
one?
all the
Remember
winters.
that one? Remember that one summer? Remember what happened? And we grew up all at once. Our loss of innocence. My senior.
Oh no! Oh,
Anyway, sidetrack. Yeah, so
Oh,
but back to my point is that this isn't a movie for the three of us to relate to. Hold on one second. I got to put my beer order in for Kate. My sister's home from school now, so now I have like a beer delivery system during the podcast.
That's amazing.
no, I get it. No, we're not the target audience, which is fine.
No.
Yeah. But I felt like it wasn't even towards like.
Exactly, and I think that this story, like, I'm sure, I can't speak for someone else, but it probably has an audience that people can relate to. It's kind of the same thing with, but that doesn't mean it's not a good movie, right? Like, I enjoyed learning about this and seeing this, what this group is struggling with in North Philly. It's kind of like Boyhood. If you saw Boyhood, that's like got 100 on Metacritic. It's like, was this big critical acclaim, and I thought it was good, but I couldn't relate to it because it's about a kid who lived in a broken household or a divorced family, you know? So, like, you just can't relate.
Let me first clarify one thing. I do think that this is a good quality movie, and like, it's a good story that is good to hear. Second of all, Boyhood, I personally didn't see, but I heard it wasn't that great. It's only got these great acclaims because it did something so crazy and it literally followed the same actor or same boy who's not an actor for 12 plus years and used him throughout the whole thing. But I digress. No, again, I think this is a good movie. I'm happy to learn more about this group of this community. I just think that there were better stories to be told than like a cliche like.
Yeah,
Kate,
my
say
beer-
hi. Kate,
My
say
beer
hi.
has arrived. They're saying hi. They're
Hi,
saying
Kate.
thanks,
Hi,
Kate.
Kate.
Kate, you dyed your
I can't
hair.
hear you, but
Whoa, she's brunette.
Yeah,
They're commenting on your hair. Here.
it's brown.
It looks
Yeah, we
great.
see that. Yeah.
Thanks. I look more
Not
like
done
Kevin
from
now.
top notch, but it's you too.
You would be so lucky.
Kevin, dye your hair blonde.
Welcome
Can't-
home.
Let's get a beer soon, boys.
Yes.
Cheers.
You heard her.
All right, bye.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate, for giving Kevin beer.
Yes. Keeps me on my toes
Keeping
during
him
this podcast.
intoxicated to be better.
Yeah.
But no, I agree, Joey. It is like, right. So there's definitely a target audience for this, 100%. I don't think that we're the target audience, regardless. Like you're saying this movie is really good. I've said this since the beginning. This movie is really fucking good. I think everybody should go watch this fucking movie. Dude, I looked up. So I finished this movie 20 minutes before the fucking podcast. I was reading the Wikipedia article about these people. They've been around a long ass time. I went to their Patreon page. There's this push, so I'm gonna plug them really quick. There's a push on GoFundMe. They're trying to buy their own stables. Go to their page on GoFundMe. I donated. Go donate. I was moved by this movie.
Can you post that in our chat, and then can we put that in the comments? Because I also finished this movie saying, wow, I would like to do something to help this group.
I'll put it in the details section of the YouTube video. Go donate down below. It's a good cause. Yep. This is a great, it's a great sense of community, you know what I mean? And it brings people together. And, like, especially in times where, like, there's a ton of stuff that drives us apart, this is something really good that you can do, you know?
Especially because they are genuinely a positive force in a neighborhood that's, stereotypically, like, suffering from crime and drugs, and they need more good influences right now. 100%.
So I'm putting it in the description. Go give them money.
Yeah.
Don't give us money. Give them money.
It is very moving, and we sit here and you don't realize like how important like this is to those people, and just hearing like that group talk at the end, the members of this like riding club just talk about the impact that it had, and like how it helped them and kind of saved their lives, kind of thing. I thought was incredible. And, I can't imagine, and I physically can't imagine, like, what that's like. So, that seems like something that just a lot of people should know about, and that we should be, like, pushing, Like, I'm going to push other people to be like, yo, help these people. I already shoveled it to my mom and my sister when I finished.
Fletcher Street Urban Riding Club is what it's called.
That's what it is. So, again, the movies that we've been doing for this podcast, I've been going in, ever since Old Guard especially, I've been trying to go into it not knowing anything about. This is a movie that you should know that it's based on a true story, because I think when that last 30 seconds of the movie, when like you realize that it's a true story, that they're talking to the actual members, that's when it hit me hard, and I was like, oh shit, like this is amazing, this is incredible.
These are people's lives.
I thought this was just like trying to be a unique way. When I was watching this, I was just thinking that this was trying to be a unique way to tell a coming of age story. So if I had known this earlier, it would have been more impactful to me personally. So
did you get retroactive impact at the end though?
I did. I actually did. I genuinely was like, oh wow, like okay, that's much more impactful to see like how they lost their stable, how they like had their horses stolen from them, how they had to like do all this stuff. Like it was much more meaningful, and like realizing that this was a good thing for the community, and not just, again, my mind was like, oh, they're just trying to tell, like, it felt to me like a Karate Kid in North Philadelphia. Like, how can we bring in an outsider to learn life skills in a non-traditional way? Mm-hmm. That's what I thought this movie was about. And then I realized it was a true story, or based on a true group, I should say. I don't know if the story is necessarily true.
I mean, the story could be totally real. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very... This story so isn't like a huge jump, Like, it's like...
It is based on a novel. It said... I think the novel is called Ghetto Cowboys, I want to say it was called.
Yeah, so, the novel Ghetto Cowboy, yeah, I think this movie...
Flawless.
I'm a professional.
Quick,
you joke that jump is going to be clean, and I'm going to do it again. The novel is Ghetto Cowboy. Did you guys get, so in addition to it being a coming of age story, right? This is something I really wanted. This is something I wrote in my notes, and I thought especially in the scene where they're kind of like riding the horses into the seminary for like, not to...
Cemetery.
What did I say?
Seminary. Rolling on all the priests.
Yeah, cemetery. When they're rolling into the cemetery
has
with
a big priest theme.
James is still fucked up from that comment. He's having PTSD.
That one summer.
Like the seminary.
But the cemetery. The cemetery scene, right? When you see everyone riding in on the horses, and you see, like, what's the guy's name? It starts with an SM. I want to say Smush,
Who?
but it's definitely not
Smush.
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 Is it
It's
Smush?
Smush.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Smush.
So Smush, the like Cole's Cole's probably best friend and his only real peer in
His
the
childhood
movie.
friends, yeah.
His childhood friend that he meets again in Philly, right? The big spoiler of the movie is he dies. You know what I mean? In a drug-related like murder. You know, he
It's
gets
not a big
murdered.
spoiler. It
Yeah,
is
towards,
very
yeah.
clear that it's going to happen
Yeah.
the entire time.
Yeah,
Like,
but yeah, 100%. There's a ton of death flags. But Smush dies, right? But like Smush was a part of the riding club, so they're like, we need to bring him on his last ride. He's already dead, but we need to pay homage. And they break the horses out to like go, you know what I mean, pay homage. And the scene where everybody's kind of riding on the horse, they bring Chuck, which is his horse, you know, and his dad is actually riding. I'm pretty sure his dad, like Harp, is riding Chuck.
Harp had Chuck. Like Harp, once Smush left, like Harp was like
Right,
in
Chuck.
ownership of Chuck. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because Chuck was the one that was living in his house.
Yeah.
But he was like, listen, Smush, like, regardless of like how we felt about Smush towards the end, like, he was one of us, you know?
Right.
And as they kind of ride in towards his grave, like, you see, like, there's this moment, this like quiet silence of like, I'm like, this is a movie about family, you know? Like,
Yeah.
this really is. It's because it's at the beginning of the movie, like, he's dropped off by his mom and just like kind of like no irony or whatever, or no symbolism. He's literally thrown out on the street to go find his dad, right? That he has nothing in common with, and he has not been a part of his life, you know? Mm-hmm. So he finds his dad. They don't really have a relationship, but as he kind of goes through like the turns of life, and like he's really broken down and kind of like thrown through the ringer of like all the different things that can happen to him and his friends and his peers and his family, like you see as he grows with this community, right? And he grows as a person as a result. And like, you know, at the end of the movie, he stands up on the horse, which is this thing that Smush used to do. He was like one of the only one that could do it. And it was this like big accomplishment for him that he wanted to do. And he wanted to show that like he can, like, you know, no pun intended, stand up on his 2 feet, you know? Mm-hmm. And like, I thought like, even though it was a little like it was a little corny, but like, I thought it was a beautiful moment, you know, just like that moment and the symbolism of that moment shows me that that's what really sold the movie. Like in that moment, I'm like, this movie's amazing. Like,
yeah.
I really, really like want to drive home that this movie does have like low points and like, but it does build to like a very beautiful ending. And that's why the first thing I had to say about the movie was beautiful. And I think it's also a family movie. So
yeah,
about family.
I agree. I think by the end you do realize that this was just a beautiful like story that, like Joe said, it's the story told over and over again, but it does have some real relevance to this community in Philly right now. It almost felt like their way of getting out this story, and I'm sure the author and the writers and directors kind of all felt that and have some stake in this story that needed to be told. And I hope that it does get told and that people...
Did you just throw up?
I burped, and you know what? You ruined it, because I was just going to flow right into it and give you an easy cut, but now it's going to be fucking impossible.
No, you were talking so...
You just cut the audio, Joe. I'm a pro now. And so, that eventually by the end it does, like, everybody has a stake in it, whatever, so you can tell and you can really feel that everybody in this movie and close to this movie, like, have that stake in it and really care about this community and what's going on with this community. I agree, James. Beautiful is a good term. Once you get through it, you're like, oh, that was a nice bit of storytelling. And like you said, James, I think they handled symbolism in the movie really well. That one at the end was a little tongue-in-cheek, but, like, is that the phrase, tongue-in-cheek?
I just called it corny. Like, it's a little, like, you're like, it's a little weird that you're doing this at a funeral, but, like, I get what they're going for. You know what I mean? And, like, I'm okay with it because I know what they're going for, you know?
Yeah, and I think they handle symbolism in the rest of the movie a little less corny and on the nose. And it like doesn't take you out of it, but if you pick up on it, you're like, wow, that's really cool. So, beautiful. So, that's a good term, James. I agree with you.
Here's what I want to say too about this movie is like, I like this movie as a Netflix movie. Like, if this was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when you could only really watch new movies in theaters or like HBO, but like, it wouldn't be something that would drive people to theaters to go watch and see. But like now with the power of streaming services and the accessibility of all these different like niche groups, like it is a very unique story that like should be told. You know, there's a lot of stories out there that need to be told about communities and groups that are doing good things in the world that don't get the light of day, and we typically see the same kind of like horror or like negative impacts in movies. So I will say that I think this is a great pro for Netflix and a great like advocate of why we need more streaming services to like make movies that are targeted more towards like niche groups and not just like made to promote to try and grab every single audience member. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this is made as to try and. This isn't a Marvel movie where it's like we just want to appeal to everybody with big production and appeal to as wide of a net of an audience as possible. It's like we're going to tell a story. We want to reach a bigger audience than we normally could have otherwise.
Yeah. I think that's a very astute observation, and I would love to like pick someone's brain at Netflix or like one of these streaming services about like how they pick these movies and which ones they pick up, which ones they don't, which ones they put money into themselves. But I think that is the beauty of streaming, and I've always thought about that. Like, obviously, I love the theaters. Like, I'm still a movie guy, and there are movies that you want to go experience in the theaters. But you're right, Joe. Like, a movie that does really well at a festival and is just kind of for this niche group doesn't do really well. But the beauty
it doesn't mean they're not a bad movie or good movie.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You miss out on a lot of gems, and that's been true always. You know, with like someone shows you a movie and it wasn't a big release, but you're like, holy shit, that was awesome. And that's what's beautiful about Netflix and streaming services in general, but Netflix kind of took the first jump at it, is because, like, unlike with their shows as well, is like unlike movies or like big productions or television shows on like cable television, they don't get their money from like viewership and shit. They already got their money. So like it lends itself to these niche movies or these stories that might not have picked up. Stranger Things, great example, got bounced around. People didn't pick it up, too much of a risk, and Netflix said, you know what, fuck it. It sounds cool. Let's throw money at it, and then look at them now. So yeah, that's I think, not even talking about Concrete Cowboy anymore. Like, obviously we're doing a podcast like this for a reason. It's because we do like these types of movies, and that Netflix and HBO and all the streaming services can offer us these movies now at such easy access.
And I want to.
There's my plug for Netflix. We're gonna have their Netflix account retweet that clip.
Their stock is going to skyrocket after this.
I meant to say their Twitter account. We just tweet at them, and they get the free publicity from 3 dudes in Richboro, Pennsylvania.
True. To
One
jump
guy's
off
in
your
Philadelphia.
point, that's true. That's me.
Soon too.
Yeah, soon too. Joey's almost Philly boy. But
Fuck you, Kev.
to jump off your point, Joey, I do think that this is a better story told through Netflix, because I feel like, right, like there are Marvel movies, Pacific Rim, big CGI, like grandiose movies, The Great Gatsby, right? You want to see that in theaters because there's the huge sound system. There's like the experience of being in a crowd while you watch it. There's like so many other things kind of like playing into the, like, not just what's on the screen, but like what's happening around you when you're there, right? But this movie is much more of like, and I think I see this a lot, and like in what movies I actually really enjoy in Netflix, this is a movie where it's much more focused on like the intricacies of the character, and it's like a much more, I'm kind of struggling with a word, but I want to say like it's like an intimate movie, you know what I mean? Where it's like I feel more connected, you know what I mean? Like I feel more connected because it's just me. I'm watching it just because I want to watch it, you know what I mean?
It's a character-driven story, not a plot-driven story. So it's not. It doesn't need the big sound effects and the special effects and the community feel. You kind of want to just feel like you're a part of these people's lives for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think
we're there.
I think we've talked a lot. I'm actually kind of indifferent now. I think I changed my mind in the middle of this. I don't know. We'll see.
Joe, you're always indifferent, let's be honest.
I
think
no, in the
that's a
beginning I was always press play.
I think that's a great thing about our show, though, and like just talking about movies in general. Like, if anybody out there has like a group and like you just like it's kind of like a book club, but it's like a movie club, and you can sit and talk about it, and then you you think about things that you didn't think about before in the movie, and like I think all of us have had a moment in like one of our episodes where we've completely changed our opinion from before because we got to see it through someone else's eyes. Like, I know I definitely did during American Pickle. Like, you guys were like, this is trash. And then I was like, wow, that was trash. Or, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, in the last movie, Kevin, you were able to, like, convince my mind of, like, I was very much on the I don't really want to watch this ever again. And then you're like, you said a lot of good things, So
right. So I think that's great. And, like, hey, I hope people, like, get that same enjoyment someday out of this. Like, maybe more people start listening to it and, like, get that same enjoyment. But, like, I really enjoy that we get to do this every week. And, like, I encourage other people to go out there and, like, watch movies, like, the same movies.
Don't start a podcast because then you're competition with us.
Yeah,
but go watch movies.
Because we will stomp you and we will bury you into the fucking ground.
You can hang out on Discord and we can just talk about movies.
That's true. Yeah. Patreon.
If you support our Patreon.
Uh-huh.
But,
okay, let's get into final thoughts and decision making. We started with Kev. Let's continue with Kev because he felt special for not getting picked. Our Lord, Mr. Fahey.
Yes,
Lord Fahey.
I am a Lord. Thank you for respecting me. Yeah, I mean, final reactions. I think we just really got into those final reactions. I agree with everything James really said during this podcast. I think James brought some really good insights into like the background of it. So I think that it was a beautiful film, great acting, great story. I think my final thought really has to be, if you can, go out and check out this story. Watch the movie for sure. Go out and check out the story about this club. If you want to donate. I'm going to do it right after this. I'm probably going to throw some money into that GoFundMe. So I think it was really special. Going back to what we were saying, though, I think my final thought is, like, this is a prime example of movies we want to be watching on our podcast. And even though Netflix does give them this platform of, like, hey, like, now people have access to it, people like us and people who might be listening to us really need to go out there and tell other people about it. Because, like, obviously Netflix's algorithm isn't going to throw this to the top because it's not one of their big movies. But if we start talking about it, then other people watch it, and then we spread awareness about stuff like this. So I'd love to watch more kind of niche pieces like this about other groups and, like, things going on, maybe some documentaries, because I enjoyed watching this one.
If we can convince one person to watch us, we are officially influencers.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's true. I can start wearing, like, pit vipers and, like, posting on Instagram. And,
okay, so you're saying...
Press play.
There it is.
Press play, 100%. Yep.
Nice.
Okay, James.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been plugging this movie since the beginning. I love this movie. I really did. I had a really, really, really good time watching this movie. I thought it was a beautiful piece about a community, exactly what Kevin's saying, a community that you wouldn't necessarily know about. Even, three guys, like, I've lived in Philly for 3 years now, but three guys that, you know what I mean, lived in Philly at one point, didn't know the details of this community. It shines a light on a community. It gives voice to people that wouldn't necessarily be actors. Like, there are people from the community in the movie that played the roles. Amazing. And it was the story was generic. It was, but I think because of the superior acting and writing and dialogue of the characters, it really sells a genuine and natural story. So wholeheartedly pressing play on this one. Really like this movie, and I'll send it back to you, Joe.
Okay, so probably should have started with this disclaimer first, but I'm going to do it now at the end because never better late than never. You guys both know I've been extremely stressed with work recently, been overwhelmed with a lot of different projects going on. So for me to, I missed last episode because of it. So for me to watch this movie, I had to literally stop work and not being like productive. Although I do enjoy, like, this is more fun to me, not consider work. Like, I felt I wasn't in the right headspace to watch this movie, and that's why I think I came into it with a little bit of a skepticism, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't a groundbreaking, most entertaining movie that I think I can justify being like, oh, I'm happy I stopped and, like, shut my mind off for a couple hours to relax and watch a movie. It is a good movie. It's good acting. It's a great story. It does good for the community. It literally gave people who have never been actors and have just been trying to survive as these horse cowboy people, and gave them like a spotlight. I do like it. I personally think I will watch it again because I want to watch it in the right headspace. So I'm going to press play again as well. Not the most entertaining movie, but it does have very good aspects to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is definitely one that like you want to pay attention. You don't want to watch this one in a group. You know what I mean? Like I think this is you kind of have to be in the space of like I want to hear a story. And like,
yeah,
really.
And I think
like the more you connect, the more you get out of it.
Agreed. And personally, I'm in the mindset right now of like, if I'm going to watch a movie right now, I kind of want to shut off. So it's not a shut off. It's not a shut off your brain type of movie. It is going to be a pay attention, learn about something that's a little deeper than your probably everyday life. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Play.
Joe, dating advice. 3 plays. Yeah, 3 for is good.
Dating advice.
Got you, bitch.
I
got you.
No. Okay, let's relate it to the movie. Let's find out.
Off the cuff.
Find a girl who can teach you how to stand on a horse. Kev's face during that was so
I was like, shit, this might go sideways quick. Yeah, that's a great piece of advice.
Right? Find a girl who can teach you
hobbies?
something.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, do that. That's better.
A girl who can teach you something and challenge your thought on life.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
There we go. I feel like that's better.
Julia taught me that I suck at card games. What about you guys?
Alex teaches me that I'm not good at grammar all the time.
You don't need Alex, dude. We'll do that for you, too, buddy.
Amanda's taught me that I am perfect and always right.
Yeah, we got to talk to Amanda.
It's okay. She doesn't listen to the show anyway, so she'll never hear it.
Amazing.
Just kidding.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it.
Or listening.
We're definitely going to link the GoFundMe page for the Riding Club down in the section of the YouTube video. So please go check it out there. Please leave a like and a comment. It helps us, especially with an emerging channel. We're trying to get as much saturation as we can. And we do want to hear from you guys.
5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It genuinely really does help because Apple and Spotify are the 2 biggest podcast platforms. They control about, I think, 40 to 60% of the market, and they control that market and what shows they promote based off of the rating. So that's huge. If you can just give us a 5-star, a comment, review also helps. And a follow on Instagram. That's always fun because you just get more content from us.
Yeah, we're always on there. Joey's real good on the clips. The clips are hilarious. I love it all the time. But yeah, definitely just stay connected. We like talking about the movies. We like hearing you. We like hearing from you. The next movie that I'm going to recommend for the podcast actually came from a listener. So we do listen to your comments.
What is it? Tell us. Tell us.
You're going to have to stick around to find out. It's going to be Sound of Metal.
Oh, I was going to pick that movie for
I didn't know that was a streaming.
What is that? Amazon original.
Amazon. It was
really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was
good for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Recently nominated for a bunch of Oscars. I don't know if they won anything, but they were nominated.
And he's really good. The guy who played, he's a good actor too. I forget his name though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll find out next week.
Yep.
So thank you for listening.
Next week, isn't it my turn next week?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Then why'd you say that, James? Now you just spoiled 2 weeks in advance.
I just said I wasn't gonna say.
He said his next movie.
Yeah, you made it sound like you were next, though. Okay, what's your pick for next week so the viewers can know what we're going to listen to next week?
Honestly, haven't picked yet. I'm thinking that new Stowaway movie kind of looked interesting.
I've been wanting to watch that. It keeps coming up on my... It looks horrible, but it keeps coming up on my...
It does look bad, but it looks right up my alley, so...
I just don't believe Anna Kendrick is an astronaut, and they're trying to sell me on it, so...
All right, we're watching it. Stowaway is...
We'll see.
Right, we'll see. Yeah. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for listening. If you stuck through it, thank you.
Yep. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you later.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.